Welcome back to another build guide. Today we have the Icy Shadow version 2. I've been having so much fun with this build, and as you'll see, I've made a few changes that really make this build stand out. As normal, in this video we'll be going over skills, playstyle, the skill tree, gear, and the Paragon Board. The skills we'll be using are Shadow Step, Dash, Twisting Blades, Shadow Imbue, Smoke Grenade, and Puncture with combo points as our specialization. Smoke Grenade got a buff recently, going from 15% to 20% damage to enemies affected by it, and with the use of some aspects, this becomes an absolutely insane utility skill. Not only does it allow us to daze, it will freeze and give us a 43% damage multi that we can have up most of the time. This build is on the squishier side. We want to take advantage of our crowd control and our mobility to avoid getting hit too much. We do take up some defensive aspect slots with some utility aspects, but trust me, it is worth it. When you're diving a large pack of elites, use dash and instantly drop your smoke grenade to daze and freeze, giving you plenty of time to finish them off. Use shadow step when you get crowd controlled, shadow imbuement whenever it's up, and dash to engage, reposition, and move around the map quickly. And on to our skill tree. Starting off with puncture, pick up fundamental, max out twisting blades with advanced twisting blades. Siphoning Strikes did get a nerf recently, making it on a lucky hit, critical hit, instead of always on critical strikes. So our sustain has gone down tremendously because of that. But because of how much crowd control we have in this build, it does make up for it. Shadow Step with Discipline. Weapon Mastery. Dash with Methodical Dash. Smoke Grenade with Countering Smoke Grenade, giving us huge cooldown decreases and having that up more often for more dazes and freezes. 1 point into Exploit and then 3 into Malice. 1 into Shadow Imbuement with Mixed Shadow Imbuement. 3 into Precision. 3 into Frigid Finesse. Go ahead and max out all these nodes here, as well as these two with only 1 in Adrenaline and Close Quarters. Now I do want to note that you can pick up Victimize here and get even more screen vomit. It is fun to play with, but Close Quarters just feels better with the attack speed and that 30% increased damage to crowd control, because we're always crowd controlling. It's just nice to have that up. Onto gear, stat priority, and aspects. Starting off with our armor. For our helmet, go for life, armor percent, cooldown reduction, and either ranks to shadow imbue or basic skill attack speed. For our aspect, we're using Frostbite, giving us up to 25% increased critical strike damage to frozen enemies. And on top of that, it synergizes with Smoke Grenade, allowing it to also instantly freeze our targets. If you are wanting to be more tanky, you can definitely swap Frostbite out for Might for some more damage reduction. Our chestplate, look for life, damage reduction from close, and armor percent with the aspect Explosive Verve. This just amplifies our Smoke Grenade, and with the lucky hit cooldown, we have this crowd control damage stem up very often. For our gloves, get ranks to Twisting Blades, crit chance, attack speed, and lucky hit chance. You can also go for critical strike damage with imbued skills, but we don't get much lucky hit anywhere else. And we're going to be using Icy Alchemist for the aspect. This got buffed in Season 1, giving us 25% chill instead of 20%, so we freeze a lot faster and more often. For our pants, we want life, damage reduction from close, and armor percent with the aspect Disobedience. And of course, for our boots, we're using Penitent Greaves. This is how we apply chill in order for Icy Alchemist to work. And for our weapons, on our crossbow we want critical damage, vulnerable damage, dex, and core skill damage with of course Blade Dancer's aspect. For our weapons, on one hand we have Condemnation, the extra 20 to 40% multi on combo points just can't be beat here. And on the other hand, I am currently using Ashiras. The amount of attack speed and lucky hit we get from this weapon allows us to proc Icy Alchemist more often, and with more attack speed we get more activations out of the Imbuement Heart. With the nerf to critical damage on swords, giving up 14% crit damage for 30% close and more attack speed makes daggers a little bit better in my opinion. So if you are not wanting to use Ashiras, go ahead and pick up a dagger with crit, vulnerable damage, dex, core damage, and the aspect Edge Masters. You will hit a lot harder with this, but you also lose a lot of attack speed. And lastly, our jewelry. Our amulet, we need to have cooldown reduction and damage reduction. Our third role, we have some options. Frigid Finesse is the best for clear, and Malice is a good all-rounder for both clear and boss damage. And the last role, you want either dex percent, armor percent, or movement speed depending on what you feel you are lacking. And for the aspect, we're using Expectant for that 15 to 30% increased damage when we're alternating between Puncture and Twisting Blades. As for our rings, we want life, crit damage, crit chance, and vulnerable damage. For the aspects, with one ring we want accelerating and the other with umbral for energy sustain. I would also recommend getting a third ring with energizing. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but our energy sustain feels really bad when we're fighting bosses without it. For our gems, we want rubies in our armor and emeralds in our weapons. At the moment, having the extra life feels better than running topaz, and with shadow step up so often, topaz doesn't feel super needed right now. And of course, emeralds in our weapon for the extra crit damage against vulnerable. And for the socket colors for the new malignant hearts, we want a vicious, a brutal, and your last socket can be any color. We'll be using Tempting Fate for the huge crit damage boost, Revenge for the damage suppress. This helps our survivability a lot and makes Smoke Grenade look super cool when we cast it. And lastly, the Vile Apothecary. With up to a 15% chance to attack with all imbuements and our insane attack speed, we can get Icy Alchemist to proc pretty reliably without even having Shadow imbue up. And lastly, we have our Paragon boards. The glyphs that we're using are Closer, Combat, Chip, Turf, Control, and Exploit. The legendary nodes that we pick up are Tricks of the Trade, Cheap Shot, and Deadly Ambush. This is the reason why we run Explosive Verve on our chest plate, is so our Smoke Grenade also counts as a trap skill, giving us the 20% from Smoke Grenade, and on top of that, giving us another 22.5% increase to our critical strike damage, allowing Smoke Grenade to just be an insane damage stem. Other than that, we pick up some rare and magic nodes around the board, giving us even more critical strike damage and vulnerable damage. As normal, I'll have a link to this Paragon board in the description below. And with that, we sum up Icy Shadow version 2. I hope you guys enjoyed this build guide. This so far has to be my favorite rogue build because of the speed and damage output. The next build guide I'll be doing is Pen Shot with the new unique bow. I will also be updating my previous guides for Season 1, so make sure to give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss them. That's all for today. Remember to have fun and take care.